Now, Steve, pretend that you like me.
We are Brightside Home Theater.
Is this thing on? We can't do anything right today, Steve.
Oh, you've gone really quiet, Deej.
Did I?
Yeah, you have. You still are.
Now I'm quiet?
No, I can't hear you at all.
What?
You're very quiet.
I am very quiet. Maybe because I did this.
That's
we are
right.
having...
Now you're there. Now
I'm here. We're having technical difficulties. We were all ready to go, and then it was like everything went haywire. This thing on. So, hey, home theater nerds, welcome to the Brightside Home Theater Podcast, a home theater podcast that's all about the experiences, the sights,
the sounds,
the scenes, and the cars.
And the cars. Let's not go down that road. Ooh, pun.
Oh, good. Well, wow. Yeah, smooth.
We're late, but we got the puns. Check that one off the list over here. Oh, literally. How are you doing? Pushing play, and we're like, we'll talk later.
Yeah. We are here. We're here. We're here. Good to be back. This is chilled stress relief. Time for some fun.
Yeah, you don't have to work the board.
Well, this is true. This is true.
I got to do fancy things like
the sounds. It's coming black.
All sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, I know someone that was wearing all black this week, Deej.
Yep.
Who was that?
Yeah, somebody's got a job. Yeah. Somebody's been demoted.
Well, yeah. But yeah, no, this is it's good to be back. Very much needed this week. Just two guys chatting away with lots of cool people in the chat joining in.
Yeah,
it's very much needed. So and things have been kind of crazy. I don't know if you've seen in the news. I don't know if it's reached over there, but things have been a bit fraught over this side of the pond this week. Lots of civil disorder and unrest. Yeah, which we won't go into, but it's been a bit kind of crazy. So it's been very busy at work with lots of people getting arrested. It's been kind of crazy. So to just sit down and chat stuff that is inconsequential to everybody else, but super important to us is a great way to laugh.
Yeah, I don't watch the news over here. Like I became that guy. Jen and I are at the bar. I'm sitting. Normally, we sit away from people at a bar, of all things, because me and people doesn't mix well. So it was really crowded. And I'm sitting at the bar, and I look up at the TV. I'm on a corner table at the bar. It's a bar in the round, and there's a woman sitting on this corner, and then Jen is on this side of me. And I look up at the TV, and I go, "Oh, the Olympics are on." And the woman sitting next to me is like, "Oh my God," out loud. And I knew exactly what she was saying, because it's like, when I was into everything going on in the world, which I'm not anymore, I can't pay attention because I'm too busy with this and whatever. So I understand what she, like, people that, oh my God, you have no idea. That's huge. Everybody in the world's watching the Olympics. No, they're not. And I used to think that too. I'd tell people all the time, like, less than 25% of the population cares about sports. And they're like, no, it's a lot. No, it's not. But yeah, I've become that guy. So sorry to hear that over there. But Steve, are you like a plow driver in the winter? Like, you watch the weather to see how much you're gonna have to work. So you watch the news to see. Oh, here we go. I put on my boots.
Yeah. Well, if it went that way, if crime ever slept, or indeed went in waves, things would be a lot easier, but it doesn't. You only need one. I mean, this is the thing.
It's always snowing.
Yeah, well, that's it. Exactly that. Because you only need one murder case, for instance, that comes in, and then that's 3 or 4 days solidly at the police station, going through it. So, you can deal with 20 or 30, shoplifters or drug dealers, whatever it might be. But one murder comes along, and that's enough to take you out of it. So yeah, it's always busy, but as I say, given what's been going on here across the country in the last week now, it's just ultra busy, very, very busy. So lots going on, lots of late nights, unfortunately, not in a good way. So, it's just nice to kind of come here, to sit down and chat cool stuff. And there is some very cool stuff.
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
So much excitement.
Stuff we didn't get to last week, for instance.
Well, so the story goes. Yeah. So I understand. Yes.
We had a good time.
We go. Oh man, always.
Yeah.
So it's been lots going on in the world, but yeah, lots of cool stuff in Cinema George as well. So that's been very useful. So all good.
Yeah.
Shall we say who's in the chat? Because I noticed.
Yeah, let's go through the chat here. Where did it start? When did I start this yesterday? It started yesterday, so we started. Let's just scroll back.
Yeah, there's been some reset because there were 5 of us who put in initial comments yesterday, and that's all gone.
Ooh.
So yeah, I think Mike's wrong. Might have to tell me if I've got this wrong. I think Mike was first, or he might have been second. I was third. Someone else came in 4th and 5th, and then it reset. So I don't know what's happened with that. Anyway,
yeah. I see the first one is from Stephen at in the chat.
Yeah,
that's who I have at 132. But it's funny he's saying this is a riot. So apparently he jumped in on a conversation, but he comes up as number 1.
Yeah, I don't know why it does it. It's weird how it kind of resets, but there we go. Anyway, so Steve Att was in the chat, and hopefully is once more. Van Gool's in. TSG Spartan is in. A local boy to me. Marcus Beebe is in. Mikey's in, of course. Paul Hertz in. He of the sartorial advice about wearing black. We've got who else we got? Mike writes in. Mike dropped in to say hello, and we've got there was a bit of backwards and forwards about stuff. Fred's in. Hey Fred. And who else we got? Van Gool. I think I said Van Gool, didn't I? Jordan's in. I know we've got Dom in. Yeah, Dom's there as well. And the couple of new names that jumped out to me. Where did I find those? Neil Hansen.
Maybe feel like no, Neil I think he was in. Isn't he the am I mixing that? Is he the one with the Kaleidoscape? Wasn't that Reed? Something Reed? Did I get that? Oh man, I can't keep him.
Yeah. Oh well, Neil, nice to see you anyway. And if you are a regular, apologies. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah. And now neither of them are.
Yes. Yeah.
They're both like,
we're all gone. Yeah, we're done.
Forgot all about me. No.
So gang is all here, present and correct. Everyone's jumping in. Although excellent. I see Mike saying, he's watching the Olympics and saying, I've never watched rugby till now. Wow. Oh, Mike, I have such sights to show you. As a New Zealander, rugby runs through my veins.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
And
never played it myself. We have it out here. Never played that one. That's the one sport I never played.
Literal scars to prove it, including nails in my right kneecap, nails in my ankle, and titanium right down through the tib and the fib from having broken my leg playing a number of years ago.
Fun.
Yeah, it was an interesting time.
Yeah, I bet.
That was the end of my less than glittering rugby career. And that's when I started Aikido. So, it's all fine.
There you go. Yeah, get the crap kicked out of you, then learn to defend yourself so you don't get the crap kicked out of you.
Totally different.
Okay.
Yes.
Lesson learned.
Oh, yeah, done. So all good. All good. Anyway, you asked me how I was. How are you?
I am busy as usual. Mm-hmm. Always. Keeping up, but things are progressing, not progressing, working, always something going on. I wish I had better news for the house, but just got some, the issues, but got some issues. I was talking with our buddy Paul earlier today, and he's like, I thought you might have had a fire or a flood or something. I'm like, nope. It's just what happens when you have to depend on people. And you're at the mercy, and it's like, you got workers and they're not working the way you need them to, and there's nothing you can do about it. So, and as Paul said, he's like, take it as a small vacation. It's like, I wish, but yeah. So, yep. Stuff going on. We'll talk later about, went to a concert last night, had some fun. working, like for fun. I was talking to Paul about it, working this weekend for my friends, and I'm like, mindless work. I don't have to do anything. Just tell me where to go. Like, I don't have to think. Just tell me, pick that up, put it down. That's what I can do. So I can't wait to do that. So my home theater experiences might be even less next week because it's a pretty big weekend, but looking forward to that. What else do I have? What else? Oh, Steve, you're alive. I mean,
I'm alive.
Somebody's coming for you over there in Europe.
Uh-oh.
Remember?
What's happened? Do tell. Remind me.
Come on, I texted
Oh,
you.
yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah. So are you saying, do you want me to say?
Yeah, you can say like you.
Okay. Yeah. So rumor has it on the European grapevine, the Interpol have warned me about the international sort of death warrant that is outstanding. Meg, now is it Meg and Greg are both there, or is it just Meg with friends?
Meg and Greg with other friends of theirs, and that similar to me working this weekend, their friends were like, "We want to do this trip." And they're over in Europe right now doing a nice trip. And Meg was like, sure, you guys do it and we'll go. And then they, and she's like, it was relaxing to her because I think the last trip was obviously their wedding and she had a plan and stuff. And so she's like, great, we'll do it. We'll go on a trip and just follow the people. But of course, Meg's like me. I mean, not even close to not being like, I mean, she's like 99% me. And she had to plan the trip.
Yeah. Well,
her friends are like, we're going to do this. And they're too aloof. And she's like, we can't do it that way. Let me take the control.
Oh, yeah. So they're in Portugal, aren't they, at the moment?
Somewhere, yeah. The last I saw, I'm getting pictures.
Are they touring around? Are they, or is it just there and then back? Or are they going to be?
Yeah, I think they're just doing Portugal. They wanted to go over and, just have a relaxing trip and just, just see some sights. And she sent me one video. They were on a boat. I don't know where, but like on like a nice yacht, look over the water, obviously on the water, but they were playing Springsteen. And she's like, I didn't pick it. It's just on. I was like, yeah. He plays all over the world.
He is known outside of the UK.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. I'm happy for them. We're getting funny pictures. They did some wine tasting I saw. That hitman called The Trench. She's on the move.
Oh, man. See, I'm glad you gave me the warning,
there,
man.
buddy.
Yeah, that's
Be wary.
Any rustling in the trees to watch out. That's it. Meg, the jackal.
I have your address. I did not give it to her, so I am not liable.
Well, it's still quite a jaunt from Portugal, so I'm fairly safe, I think.
Well, she made it over the water. That's the hard part.
Yeah, that's true.
She can walk the rest of the way now.
We're an island. No, we're an island. She'd have to cross the English Channel. Hop, skip, and a jump. But back to the Olympics.
Determined.
Yes. Yeah. But they're going to have to, come this way. They're going to have to, hop over to the UK at some point. Yeah. And I can see it now. This is the new National Lampoon's Briggs Vacation.
Yeah, exactly. I had my friend Wayne was in Italy, not almost the same time as John. And and he was telling me a story. He was like, he saw the cyclist and he got hit or something. Then he saw him again later and he got hit. I go, that's European Vacation. It was the same cyclist all the way through the movie. And he was like, oh my God, it was. I was like, it was the same guy. He's telling like a real life story that matched up. So, hey,
oh man,
welcome to Europe.
Welcome to Europe. Yeah.
Steve,
matter of time.
We got a new patron.
So I hear. Yes.
MB Gilbertson just became a 454. What do they call those in Australia?
I think it's Australian dollars. I think that's Australian dollars. I mean, I might have got that wrong, but I think it is. Because what else could it be? How many other countries beginning with A? I mean, that aren't in Europe. If it's in Europe, then the euros. So you can't have Austria. Albanian, don't think they've got dollars.
No.
Albuquerque isn't a country.
It's not where you take a left.
Oh yeah, according to Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
So I think that's Australian dollars. I think it must be, but I don't know. But either way, very cool. Very cool.
Thanks, MB Gilbertson. Literally came in just before the show, like a few hours ago. I haven't had a chance to reply with an email, so if he'll be getting that later today. But thank you very much. And if anybody would like to join him and all the other patrons, just go to the show notes. It's in there. It's in there. Patreon, Brightside, Home Theater, whatever. You'll see. Go to Patreon. You can tell how much we greatly appreciate it, and that's we don't push for it. And if people do it, that's what's even cooler, is because we're not like every week, please do this. Blah, blah. It's like we're doing this for fun. And
Well, while we're talking about that, whilst we're talking about Patreon, let's talk merch as well then. So that's TeePublic.
Also in the show notes. That's the best way to support the show, because we get little to no money for that, but that's how people learn about us, even if you're on the vacation in the Dominican, right, Mikey?
Oh, yeah.
And that's directed to Mike Schramm, who they thought he was one of us. Somebody ran into him on vacation. Yeah. Well, I think it was only me at the time, or maybe you guys had just joined me. But yeah.
And so now we're assuming that's because of the shirt. It might be that Mikey, when he travels abroad, gives your name, Deej.
Could be. Yeah. It's like, it would explain all those extra charges.
Don't itemize them. Not in public.
No, I will not.
Not when he sat around the dinner table listening to
this. So funny. Let's get to let's go with this first experience right here. Horrible segue, but I can't not do this. So I was at a show last night. I went back at Fenway for it was Steve Miller, Journey, which really isn't Journey anymore, and Def Leppard. And here's the shot of the stage from where we were. Yeah, it was.
Is that at Fenway again?
Yep. That's Def Leppard. That's their opening opening number right there. I took that picture. But it was absolutely horrible sound. Horrible. Fenway and we had a conversation about this before the show. Me and the friends, I went with 8 friends. 8 of us went. And it was it's just not a venue for sound. And what we were saying is, what stinks is, because Fenway offers it, and then we're like, well, you want to see these bands like Foo Fighters or something, you got to go. But now they don't play at a good, I see that. They don't play at a good venue, so we don't get that opportunity. And we had never sat in these seats, and these seats we were on like the first base side all the way back under under the pavilion area. So we're under the cover, but then there's walls. It was when, like, for instance, like Joe Elliott here with lead singer of Def Leppard, when he went to talk and he'd be like, it sounded like this, he'd be like, everybody goes crazy. But because the sound is coming in, and then they put up, they put up these temporary, they look like quilts, but they're heavier on the back wall, so the sound doesn't go out to the street. So it just comes right back at you. It's not absorbing, it's reflecting it back at you. So all you hear, everything, this one's up on Pyromania, and you're like, what the hell? It was like being at a Peanuts concert. And we're like, this, and then when they start playing, it's just awful. And you're like, ugh. But it's, watching them and stuff, it's fun and that. But this is what I wanted to show everybody. So Steve Miller, it's like the lead singer. Oh, wrong one. I did not know. Check these out. Tell me who that is.
Not a clue. And I know nothing about music.
Doesn't matter. Who's it look like?
Oh, it's not Russell Crowe, is it?
That's what I said. I texted Paul. I go, hey, Steve Miller Band, the bassist is Russell Crowe. It looks just like him.
It does.
And he acts just like him, too. Like, I'm like, it looks like him and the other guys, right? And it's like Kenny Lewis or something, I think his name is, or something like that. And he is one of the most, how bassists, well, you don't know much, you said you don't know much about music, but bassists are usually just standing to the side and they're like, and they don't do anything. This guy's awesome. He was all over the stage. They were trying to get him on camera, and I'm trying to get a picture on the big Jumbotron, the sideways one. They couldn't keep him on camera because he kept moving around and he's dancing and he's playing. He was great. But yeah, looks, as soon as I saw him on the big screen, I was like, Russell Crowe? I was like, I didn't know he played bass.
Well, the only reason I know that it's not him is he's touring around Italy and Europe at the moment, performing in his own band, of course. So he's a frontman for his own band. He played Glastonbury this year, but we never went down this year. But he's playing. He did all that. So, cool.
And there they are. That's the stage when Steve Miller was on at the beginning before the sun went down. So it was fun. Had a really good time. Took a limo in, obviously a limo in, limo out, so everybody could relax. Nobody had to worry about driving. But yeah, it was a good time. Real good time. Yeah. And
how many more are there planned for the summer? Are there a lot more still to come?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what everybody was on the ride home last night. They're like, is that the last one? And I'm like, oh no, Pearl Jam's playing in September. Green Day's there tomorrow night. They get this down pretty good. They fill the place up. You know, once the Red Sox go on the road, they just boom, they're booking it. It kind of like, and that's one of the things Paul was saying. He's like, he was surprised that Fenway does that much. And I was there when like the first ever was Springsteen, and that had to be over 15 years ago, and it was supposed to be like a once in a lifetime event. And then they've just gotten progressively more and more and more, and it's taken the special out of it. And now it's, like I said, it's just a horrible venue for sound. So if you and like for bands like last night, I had a good time, but I've seen them all so many times that I'm like, what are we doing here? I'm like, it's not you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I could sit at home and it would sound better. Like I said at one point on Journey, it might have been Journey or even Steve Miller, I was like, this sounded better in my Chevette through a Craco radio. It does right now. I'm like, yeah, exactly. This is horrible. This is horrible. So,
man.
But
I mean, and they live streamed them, didn't you say? They
some of them, not the big ones,
Okay.
Like Greg's the one. Greg found that one. I forget what it was, but it was a local kid, and I think a local kid that's now bigger. And he played Fenway. I think he sold it out too. But they live streamed it, and I wish they would do that more. I'm like, I was thinking that last night. I'm like, if they could sell the places out or get close to capacity, and then they offered like, we'll live stream it, I'd pay like $50 and have everybody here for the theater, and then you just hang, and you'd have better sound too.
Yeah,
you know. You know, but
maybe that might be why they don't do it, I suppose, because then like no one will go.
Well, that's the thing, is you could do it like the NFL used to do. If you don't sell out the stadium, then they don't broadcast it in the area. But if the stadium comes close to the capacity, then you broadcast, because you're not losing then, and it gives the incentive for the people to go. But then if you don't, you know, so yeah. All right.
Okay. Well, we're talking to concerts, of course. John went to a Taylor Swift concert while he was in
Yes,
Italy.
he did.
Yeah, I can't imagine him wearing the Taylor Swift band, you know, the wristbands and all the rest of it. But, you know, fair
He had
play.
a blast. Did you talk
he
to
did.
him?
He really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oh, he loves Taylor Swift. Yeah, he had a blast. He said he'd never do that again because it's super expensive, but it was totally worth it. Right? Like once in a lifetime thing. You know, he saw him in Milan.
Yeah, he did.
Which is insane. I actually know. I don't know somebody. I was telling a friend of mine that he was there, and they were like, "We know somebody that's there." I was like, "Really?" I was like, "I never thought I'd know anybody that saw Taylor Swift in Milan. I don't know anybody in Milan. Well, maybe I do. I don't know. Write to me. Tell me you're in Milan." But yeah. So yeah, I know you only go to concerts if it's free and you're there working.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't pay to go to one. Never. Honestly, Deej. Yeah, no, I've never paid to go to a concert ever in my life.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, because like I said, music doesn't really mean that much to me. Yeah, I've seen some. I mean, I've seen Beyonce, I've seen Jay-Z, I've seen 50 Cent, I've seen Metallica, Iron Maiden, Blur, or Oasis, Coldplay. I've seen them all, but only because I've been at these events theoretically working. I mean, I'm only working. If someone gets arrested, and these days that happens pretty infrequently, because they're all well trained now by yours truly. And so what it tends to mean is, well, this is the thing, be good.
Yeah. It's funny how people need to be trained to behave.
Oh, yeah. Indoctrinated.
Exactly.
So it means that, so when we go to these things, you can kind of enjoy it more. So I've seen all the, some of the world's biggest bands, but I wouldn't pay to do it. I only pay because I can, I only go because I can go in and out. I can leave when I've had enough. I can, park right in the entrance, just walk in, walk out. Well, with Glastonbury, we get chauffeured in and chauffeured out, by Range Rover. Very nice. But I wouldn't pay. You wouldn't, there's no way.
Yeah.
And there's some people that spend huge sums of money to go, for all that time. But like I said, I wouldn't go, far be it from me. I wouldn't pay. I get paid to go.
Right. Exactly.
So, but this is the thing. Music's never been my thing particularly. I just movies all day long. Movie music as part of the movie, sure.
Yep.
But not as but in terms of a movie collection, music collection, no.
There it is. Yep, exactly.
There we go.
Hey, Steve, I have a quick one to get to, and
go for it. Yeah, man.
Kind of a special one here. Pretty funny. I will call it a little friend of mine was at my house and a big fan of. Let's pull this one up.
Oh, great film.
Great. Yeah. So Encanto. Yeah. So little friend of mine, she really liked this movie, and I was like, let me tell you about my kaleidoscape. She was not interested.
No, I'm sure.
She's only 8. She had no idea what I was talking about, but she really did like Encanto, and I caught the end of it. I only caught probably the last half hour, 45 minutes of it. But it looked really, really good. We didn't have it at reference level. My wife was watching the movie with her. And, but yeah, and the other reason this is special, this is the first movie I bought with my $100, my credit. So I bought it. I'm like, hey, I can get this one. Boom. There you go. Let's watch it. And, so yeah, so that was and I haven't bought anything since. So that was the first movie I bought with my $100 from the credit. So that was pretty cool. Speaking of which, another, let's see Danny Speakers. He did it with Travis. They exchanged. So Danny Speakers grabbed a new Strato V, and they did the credit. So Travis, my buddy Travis, he got the 100, and then Danny got it. So share the love. Look for somebody if you want to grab one of these things. I should be getting mine fairly soon. I got to get back to him today. I'm hoping to get mine soon. But yeah, even after the show last week, that's one of the things Brett and I talked about that piece for a while after the show. So, but yeah, Encanto. Have you seen this 4K?
Oh, yes. Oh
my God.
Yes.
Did you talk about it on the show?
No. It was prior to that, I think. I'm not sure. But
okay.
So, yeah, I've got the 4K disc. I've seen this film a number of times. Not only have I seen the Disney Plus version, the 4K disc version, the live action concert that they did for Encanto as well, which is on Disney Plus as well.
Oh, okay.
Where most of the cast come back. Not all of them, but most of them come back. No, I love this film. I mean, the music. I mean, again, we talk about music. I actually do have some of this music on my phone. The last song, Dos Oruguitas, it's called, which is just beautiful. I love that song. It's a really nice song, and the words are lovely. And of course, I mean, they're in Spanish, so it's fine. I know what they're saying. So it's it's a very, very good film. Well, the beauty of it is you don't need to for that particular song. It's a very, very well done song. I think it's great. And it looks beautiful. I mean, we had seen it, the Disney Plus version, and then saw it then in the cinema room on 4K disc. So the HDR on it, it just looked amazing. Right from the off with the candles and stuff against the black rooms, the dark rooms.
Okay, I didn't see that.
All the bright. Well, that's at the beginning, so you see all that kind of at the start. And the opening number, the musical number, is celebrating the colors and the design and everything else, and that all looks absolutely fabulous. And really, really detailed, and the atmosphere is great. I mean, the music just sounds like we're in a concert hall. So, it's a great disc and a great movie. And of course, Lin-Manuel Miranda was the guy behind it. So, of course, Mr. Hamilton himself, and just about any decent, musical that's come out in the last few years that isn't The Greatest Showman. He is very, very good. So, this is great. No, I did. No, but that was not him. All the others have been. Lin-Manuel Miranda seems to be involved in them all. but not Greatest Showman. Although we might talk about that a little bit later if we're talking potential spoilers.
Oh,
I don't know if you spotted that in the movie we're going to talk about later. It's in there.
I haven't spotted anything. You're going to surprise me, except for the ones we talked about last week.
There we go.
But
but very, very cool. I really like this movie and this disc. It's a great home theater experience for if you're in the mood for an animated movie. It's very, very good.
I really didn't need to see the movie because my little friend there told me all about it. And I was like, and then I even said, like, in the conversation with her, I was like, yeah, but isn't that like, she gave me the whole background of like each character and what they are. And she was showing me the poster. It was so cute. But then I was like, and then she told me, I don't want to give it away for anybody that hasn't seen it. And then she told me about this other character and go, but isn't that the most important one? She's like, yes. She was so excited. But for me, the home theater experience part, I was working. So I had to come in. I came in late. And like I said, I've been watching a lot of streaming, a lot of like my shows are all, like House of the Dragon, stuff like watching streaming stuff. So coming into this physical media and it's animation, it really pops 4K HDR. Like you said, it's like, because they can manipulate it exactly how it should be and how they want it to look. And I walked in, I was like, oh my God, this looks 3D. It looked so good. And again, it wasn't at reference, but the movements around the room, the music, the score, the singing. And I was like, oh, it's a musical too. I was like joking. But yeah, it's really, really good. And again, at the end, I knew the ending and before I even got there, but it's like how this whole story wraps up. It's a great family movie, but it's a great home theater movie too. So like if you have young kids and you want to show off your system and you just want to sit there and awe at your system while your kids are enjoying it, definitely. So
yeah, well,
really
like I said, I enjoyed it too. And I watched it with little ones, and I watched it, again with older ones, and always enjoyed it. And I've seen it multiple times now, like I said. But I love the music in particular in this is very well told and very well done. So yeah, I mean, and if anyone's on the fence about it, then it's on Disney Plus, so you can see. And again, you can choose either the animated or the live action concert. And then if you like it, you can then buy the physical disc. But the disc is definitely better, noticeably better. So I definitely recommend it. Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it was a good choice. I mean, DJ, you chose well there, or your little friend
wasn't my choice. I told you, my little friend.
No, little friend chose well.
Yes, she did. All right. Let me pull that, and then we'll get to where you left off. All right. You ready? I'll run the reel again.
Okay. So where were we? Yeah. And take two.
Yes.
Right. All right. I can skip over this pretty quickly. So this is the previously mentioned Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which we touched on last week before we had a little friend join us.
Yeah.
Who kept us going. So yeah, I mentioned last week very quickly about the movie. Movie's great, really good. Oh, and by the way, since last week, I have ordered now the US 4K disc because there is no sign of it over here, and that will be here hopefully end of this week. So I can't wait to revisit it, and this time properly. It is on Amazon Prime over here. It's in 4K UHD, HDR, but for me, it only played in 5.1 PCM. I think it upmixed to Dolby Surround, but it was not terribly active. So it was a bit disappointing audio-wise, but the disc is in Atmos, and I firmly expect, because it's a Lionsgate disc, that it'll be a very good track. Video-wise, it's really nice. The streaming video is solid. And there is a lot of actually dark scenes, because I said last week it's a caper movie, so they're trying to break into places at night. And so there's a lot of very dark scenes, which I think the stream handles relatively well. And again, as long as you've got a decently calibrated display, you should be fine. And I thought it was pretty decent for that, but I am fully expecting the disc to completely destroy the stream, and I cannot wait. This movie needs to be seen by as many people as possible. If you're in the mood for a Guy Ritchie caper movie, you've got to see it. Very funny, dark, brutal when it needs to be, but always with tongue firmly in cheek. So yeah, I really enjoyed this, and hopefully others will as well as you discover it. But if you're in the US, get the disc. Don't, just do it, because it'll be better than this. Whereas in the UK, we don't have a choice unless you import it from the States, like I'm doing. So, it's on Amazon Prime. Well worth seeing. There you go. I don't know if that was worth waiting a week for, Deej, but still.
No, it was. I'm sorry. I'm actually typing here. I'm trying to see.
You're okay now.
Where? Oh, there it is.
All
right. Dolby Atmos. Yep, there we go. So
is this going to be the next disc with your $100?
There you go. It's only $14.99 too. 4K, SDR, HDR 10, and Dolby Atmos for $14.99.
Wow, that is a steal.
Yeah,
I can assure you, it's cost me more than that to import it.
Yeah. So
wow.
Yeah. And this, I actually met after our conversation last week, and like I said, I'm freaking out of my mind here. I forgot, and I'm like, I wanted to get to this so we could have the conversation about it. So guess what? We'll probably talk about it again next week.
Hey, I'll be talking the disc then as well. I'll watch the 4K disc then for that, and then we can compare and contrast. Interestingly, Dom says in the chat, I've got the 4K disc, so he imported it. I think, Dom, I remember you. I think you put a picture up of that, so I think I remember that from, and might have been one of the reasons that encouraged me to see it and import it. And he says preferred Inglourious Bastards, though. Yes, well, there is of course a character in this that crosses over. There's an actor in it who is in both, who was playing Nazi killer in one and Nazi in this, which was a bit weird because he's fantastic in Inglourious Bastards, and he's great in this, but it just feels a bit, a bit strange. But anyway, still very, very good. Great fun film. And Henry Cavill is, getting around a bit at the moment. Again, if you've seen the other films we're talking about, he is popping up here, there, and everywhere.
Well, he is. I mean, he has popped up a lot. That's the problem. It's like, we go back to Superman and why he wasn't, things that issues, and that's part of it. He was very, very popular. A lot of people.
Well, he seems to. He seems to bring the best out in Guy Ritchie, and Guy Ritchie seems to bring the best out in him, because he's great in The Man from U.N.C.L.E. I mean, he was so good in that. That was a Bond audition all day long, and of course this, as I mentioned last week, is based on his before. He's supposed to be playing the real life person on whom it's believed Bond was based by Ian Fleming. So there's all kinds of stuff here, but Guy Ritchie and he seem to get on very well, and he's just great in this. I very, very cool. But yeah, there we go. Hopefully eventually he'll get his Warhammer movie off the starting blocks, and we'll get to see that as well, because whatever else he may be, he is one of us. He is a massive, massive nerd.
Yeah.
And you've got to love it.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you, like us, so much more excited for it, like, because it's, you feel like it's one of us, so I'm looking forward to. I should have looked that up earlier. I can't wait to see that on Kaleidoscape.
Oh, you're going to love it, because you've got a soft spot for this stuff anyway, and I think you'll particularly like how this is done. It's a very, very funny, very well done movie, and darkly funny, exactly when you want it to be. It's great. Oh, and violent too.
Violent too.
Oh yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
No. Not when it's done for laughs.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Now, I'm just going to touch on this one quickly, because we talked about this last week. But then, whoops, did I bring it up? There we go.
Yeah.
Push play.
Nope, wrong button. So you watched RoboDoc last week. I watched RoboDoc this week, or this past week. Did you get through it?
I'm nearly done with episode 4. I've watched so much this week.
Yeah.
This is to give you an idea. The disc is sat on the shelf in the cinema room to kind of flip in between movies.
Yeah.
So it is there. So what about you? Are you done with it? Did you do all of them?
Pretty much. Yeah. When I took this, I think I finished 4. It's, I mean, it is like you said last week. It's really good. There's some stuff in there that you knew. I mean, if you've been fans of RoboCop since then, there's stuff we've read back before we had internet. And there's stuff that you learned through discs, through Laserdisc, through extras on DVDs and stuff like that. But then seeing what I found or find interesting in it is how much like people are going to learn how like much of pop culture this was, right? Like how important, like if you watch this movie without the context of when it came out, and like they say a lot in here, like the Reagan era, and it's like, they even said at one time, it's like the whole idea was like, because of the Reagan era, like privatizing, instead of getting away from the government and privatizing it touches on all of this stuff. But then the violence, why they made it so violent, because things got so violent in movies and people were getting, which I thought was an interesting take, but it's like, so it's kind of like fire to like, you fight fire with fire. So like literally, like you'll see, like, remember what was the movie we watched, the forest fire movie? Brolin was in it. True story.
Only the brave. No, only the.
Yeah. I think it's Only the Brave. Yeah. But you literally fight fire with fire. Like you start a fire to burn so that the fire can't burn. So it's like you're, and part of the motivation for this was like things got so violent. Like let's go to ridiculousness to show people how ridiculous this is. But at the same time, I'm thinking, watching it, like, you just actually progressed it, because now what you're trying to say is ridiculous. People become numb to that. You know what I mean? Instead of pulling back. So it's interesting, but that's to me, that's what this points out what art is about. Like artists point at, that's why it's pop culture. It's like, we're pointing at what's going on in society, whether you like it or not. And, you know, that's why artists are hated at times. Like, why is he saying that? Buddy, most artists, it's called a mirror, you know? It's like, that's what the show Black Mirror, it's like, that's what it's about. It's like, they're showing you, right? That's, you know, this piece of art is showing you society and what it could become. And, you know, I just thought from beginning to end, and some of these people at the time didn't know what it was all about. And then when you see and how it progresses and what it evolved into, it's really, really good. I watched it on Amazon. And the first episode I put on, I didn't know I had commercials, and I was like, son of a, and then the next one, and I'm sitting there waiting. But then when I started the next one, they're like, would you like to go to commercial free for $2.99? Damn right I would. I'm like, I'm not sitting through commercials. So
somehow, though, it's apt with RoboCop that there should be commercials, but the commercials should be OTT, you know, SUX 3000. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
If you're gonna have them,
yeah, exactly.
I'd buy that for $1.
Yeah, I particularly like the part. Did you get to the part about Peter Weller and how do I put it on this show? How active he was.
What, on set?
Yeah, on set, offset to the side of the set.
He's a strange chap, isn't he? In this, I mean, he's very in his own mind in this.
I think he's a real artist.
He doesn't care. Yeah, he doesn't care who knows it either, doesn't he? He's not backwards and coming forwards, isn't he? I mean, he's quite happy to say, I was an absolute pain in the you-know-what on the set, and I wouldn't do this, and I wouldn't let them do that, and I didn't care then, and I don't care now.
Right. Yeah. Well, you see how he got the job, too. I mean, we don't have to give it away. Watch it. It's like there's so much to it, and there's so much more, but it's what he, like how he did it, and that's the stuff I really, really appreciate. Like when you hear stuff like that for artists and everything, that they're like, I don't give a crap. Hire me, you don't. I'm me. And it's like, do you want me for this role or not? And it's like, or I think you're going to be screwed if you don't take me for this role, right? And it's like, that's what you want in somebody, and they're like, and if you don't take them, they'll move on. And the best is when they do become successful and they go, that's how I did it. And it just because you act that way doesn't mean you're going to be successful. But as long as you know you did everything you could, you know. And
although, can I just say, I could not work with someone like that. I could not. I mean, I appreciate I'm not an artist, but I could not work in an environment where there was a diva like that in my vicinity. I'd end
Steve,
up laying them out.
I love you
cold.
like a brother, and I've said this to you before, but the reason you can't work with someone like that is because you're a diva too. Two divas cannot work together because they're like, screw you. It's so funny.
Well, is that why my colleagues won't look me in the eye? Fair enough. That makes
sense.
But I couldn't stand that. I would get very it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Which I think, but I haven't worked on movie sets, and I'm sure if you do, this kind of behavior is probably quite normal. And so you're probably like, look, okay, they are who they are, and they've got their process, and just let them do what they do, and that's fine. But I personally wouldn't work very well with that.
Well, that's the thing. And if you were hiring, you wouldn't hire that. You'd know that going in, right?
Yes.
So that's the point. If you valued what he's bringing to the project, you'd put up with it, which is what they do, right? And then other actors will be like, why are they putting up with that? Well, because they value what he does. I can't do that. They don't value you. And it's literally like that everywhere in the world. It's like, they can do it and I can't. Nobody values you the way that guy is. It's the way it is.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, James Gunn famously says that the first thing he does, the reason he works with the same people over and over in terms of actors, he says, well, I don't work with bleep. And he said, the first thing I do with someone new coming in is I speak to the people they worked with. And I say, how is that person? And if they say they're a bleep, I don't hire them. And he said, and that's how we do it. So he said, I've got my own repertoire of character, repertory sort of characters and actors, and I know they're good, and we get on all right, so that's why I hire them, and that's why we work together. And so, if you can't work with someone who is that way, you don't use them, I suppose, if you can. But I would struggle.
And that's fair, and that's you don't have time for that, so you would move on to something else that was easier for you to work with, and that's there's nothing wrong with either side. So
no, but he is. But he's very good in the role of RoboCop. And when you see someone else play the role, as in RoboCop 3, you can see why 1 and 2 are so good. And by the way, one thing I forgot to mention last week when we talked about it is that I knew I was missing another one that's coming along, because I mentioned Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger, but there is of course the Aliens documentary coming as well. So that's an ultra deep dive on it as well. So I'm really looking forward to that. You did exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. I remember you it was being crowdfunded.
Get a credit. Yeah, I put Brightside Home Theater in there. I did the crowd. I did like the top tier. So I think I'm getting T-shirt or whatever you get, plus the whatever. So I'm really looking. Yeah, that's going to be fun.
I don't know. It'd be
funny if we're in the credits too. If the show's in the credits, if it really did it.
Yeah.
So that would be pretty funny.
Yeah, so I can't wait for that. When that's coming, I think that's next year. So that'll be very cool.
Yep.
But there we go.
All right.
Ooh, I see what you've got queued up.
Yeah, there we go. And hopefully I hit the right sounder and everything here. But let's bring this.
Oh, Mr. Briggs, are you ready for this? Are you ready for this?
I don't think so.
Have you seen it yet? Have you
even heard
I
don't even know what it is.
Okay.
When
I did text you guys straight after.
I did see it because I get the alerts every time you add, and I was like, "Ooh, what's this one?"
Okay, this is right. Have a look and see if it's on Kaleidoscape while we're talking.
Okay,
because this might be another one for your $100. All right,
my $100.
Yeah, because
so
this
you're
is
giving
a film
away
that
your
yeah. Well, it just means that if it's crap, then you won't worry because you won't have spent real money on it.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think you will. So anyway, for those wondering that are listening, and again, those on a small screen or very far away from a large screen, this is Boy Kills World, 2024 movie on 4K disc with Dolby Atmos, SDR, not HDR.
Okay.
So on disc. This is of the 1,000 or so 4K discs I've got. This is only the second one that I'm aware of that's got SDR and not HDR on a 4K disc. The other one is Brawl and Cell Block 99, which I saw you've got on Kaleidoscape.
I do.
So that's in SDR on the disc. It's not in HDR.
Yes.
So that's the only other one that I'm aware of. Anyway, so Boy Kills World. How to describe this film? Bonkers is probably in a word. This film is absolutely nuts. And how to describe it? I will do so as best I can. It is basically Crank meets Ip Man meets Mandy
Oh my God.
It is bananas. The
you had me
story
at crank.
Well, quite. But this is crank to a to a whole new crazy part. So the story is in a kind of dystopian world, where every year they have what's called the culling, where for reasons people get killed to keep the society going. And we are told that one of these families that is killed is the aforementioned character played by Bill Skarsgård there, called Boy. Okay. And his sister and mum, this is all in the setup, are killed, and he survives, and he's taken in by a shaman who trains him to get his revenge. Now, what's unusual about this is that Boy is deaf and mute, and Bill Skarsgård has no dialogue at all through the entire film. The movie is
how to save money.
Well, well, get this. It's narrated then, his thoughts and his reason for doing what he's doing is narrated by someone else. Narrated by someone else. Narrated. Yeah.
Narrated.
Yeah.
We say narrated.
Narrated. Okay, well, narrated, or
I know.
Tomato.
We have to make fun of these things. We have an ocean between us. I'll send my hitman at you, but hey,
she's closer.
She is closer.
Closer.
And deadly.
Oh yeah. Oh, she's buried me once.
Yeah. Yep.
She's literally already dug my grave.
Yeah. Okay, so back to being narrated.
Yeah. So narrated. So it is narrated by a different actor. And the reason that this person does this voice is Boy, when he's younger, loves video games. His favorite video game is a fighting game. And with Street Fighter, it goes round one, fight.
Yep.
The whole thing is narrated in that voice. So I told you it's bonkers.
That's awesome.
Okay. And then what follows then is
he wouldn't have heard. Yeah. So I was going to say maybe that's through his inner dialogue.
Well, that's
but he can't
exactly
hear. So he never would have heard that.
Well, when he was younger, he did. His hearing was
had hearing and lost.
Yeah, so
gotcha.
exactly.
Gotcha.
There you go. Sorry,
okay.
I didn't
so that is
explain
his
it very
voice. Gotcha.
Yeah. So and what happens then is it is then an absolutely bonkers, long kind of series of events where there are massive fight sequences. He's been trained in martial arts, and Bill Skarsgård is ripped in this like he's never been ripped before. So there then are ludicrously over the top fight scenes. The shaman is played by a guy that was in The Raid, and so you get these ultra brutal fight sequences, extended action sequences that are bananas. This movie, I bought it as a blind buy. I hadn't seen it. I'd heard about it, but I hadn't seen it. I watched it on Saturday evening, and my mind was blown. It is bananas. So now, because it's so bananas, you're either going to go with it and really enjoy it, or you might also go, what a load of absolute nonsense. And the reviews are fairly evenly split between the two. But I thought this was an absolute blast. Even now, I didn't even know that it was SDR until it had finished. And I was looking at some of the other reviews just to see kind of if what I thought of it was the same as others. It looks awesome in 4K. It's ultra detailed. It's very colorful. It looks great, and you don't miss the HDR. I don't think it still looks very, very good.
Yeah.
Audio wise is in Atmos. I better give the appropriate warning now. It doesn't default to Atmos, so where you get to make sure you set it to do that. Otherwise, you're only going to get DTS HD 5.1. So you've got to tell it to do Atmos, which is weird, but there it is. And then once it does that, it is good. It's really good. It's not reference. It's not demo worthy to me. It's good. And the fight sequences are appropriately, beefy, but it's not demo material. I don't think, but it's a whole lot of fun. And if you're in the right mood to see this, there you go, DJ. Yeah, you're in the right mood to see this. You will have an absolute hoot. This is what I say. So if you do look at it and go, what a load of crap, I don't think you will. But if you do, it doesn't matter.
It's 4K SDR on Kaleidoscape with DTS Master Audio 5.1. So I'll be up mixing, which in my experience, when they don't give you the Atmos, if it's not the exact same, it is I can't really tell the difference. And you got anybody listening to the show long enough, I've done, all right, when I first got it, like, what's the difference? And like, this is what the studio gives you. So that's what, or gives Kaleidoscape. So they're not shorting them. And it's, can't wait.
Yeah. I mean, I mean,
don't think I'll get to this one next week, but I've already got.
No, hey, no, you're okay. And there's guys in the chat, all doing kind of the same thing I did. So Paul Hurt says, so it's got so-so reviews, but recently become much more interested in seeing it. Well, I mean, it needs to be seen. However you see it. I mean, I obviously would suggest 4K disc or Kaleidoscape, but it needs to be seen, because this will become, again, one of those touchstone movies where people will judge other movies by this. So it is well worth seeing, and again, in the right frame of mind and with the right people as well, if you need to. It will blow your mind. It's bonkers in the very best way. And I mean, literally, after I'd seen it, not only did I text you and John and say, guys, you've got to see this. I put up on Twitter just one word review, just wowzers.
Yeah. Was that the text? I came in on one of your text exchanges this week, and I was like, I can't even look back. I'm like, if I get in on this, I'm like, that's why I wasn't in the first place. And then I'm like, I got to do this. And it's like, I come in and I'm like, I missed like 22 texts. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, well, it's me saying to John and to you, but John, got to see it. And I think I've suitably excited him about seeing it as well, because it's his kind of movie too. I mean, in terms of the violence and the action, and he's seen The Raid recently as well, so he's watched them, and so he's really keen to see this. And it's one of these films I can't wait to everyone I know has seen it to find out what they thought of it too.
Yeah.
And I think Jordan sort of is of a similar view. So he says, it's one of the most surprising and entertaining films of the year. And this is the fourth 4K disc he's got without HDR. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, I've only got two. But this film doesn't need it. And the other reviews I've read sort of say the same thing. It's absolutely bananas. So what a find. What a find.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds good. Yeah, I'm looking for. I don't think I'll get to that for next week, because I got, like I said, I did the RoboCop, but I also RoboDoc. I got the 4K disc, and I'm gonna compare that to the 4K, or not the 4K, but it's not in 4K on Kaleidoscape. So I'm gonna do the back and forth there.
And are we talking the 87, or do we mean the remake, or
no, the newest? The old, like the 4K. Redo, the disc that came out. So I've got that all. Basically watching that RoboDoc got me. I was like, one night I was watching it, and I'm like, that's it. I'm getting up early tomorrow morning. I'm gonna watch RoboCop, and then I was like, do I have the 4K? I think I had it already, but I couldn't find it, so I just bought it again. And now I'll probably find it, but now it'll be in. I think it might be here now. I don't know. It's either today or tomorrow. And it's
a really nice disc. The RoboCop disc, the new 4K one's great. Yeah, it's really nice. Really
nice. I'm looking forward to that. Because again, going through RoboDoc, it just makes you like, I can watch this again.
Yeah. Well, now of course you'll be looking for the paint, because one of the things I forgot to mention when I did my RoboCop 2 review, as I was watching the RoboDoc, I was kicking myself because I'd forgotten to mention that in RoboCop 2, RoboCop is two-tone. He's got kind of blue and purple in the armor, and the 4K disc brings that out beautifully. The HDR on that makes you can see the two tones really clearly. And in RoboCop 1, he has got different shades in the paint, which they talk about in the RoboDoc. So of course, you can now, watching it again, you can now look out for the various paint work that they've done on it. Yeah, which is quite fun.
The other one I wanted to look at is they talked about his eyes. And being able to see his eyes, whether he can see his eyes, and the actor is talking about seeing his eyes. And I wanted to see it like in the 4K, it was like trying to, like they were talking about like acting with him and not seeing his eyes and stuff. And then that was all part of the casting thing too, because they're like, this is what we're casting. Just his face, his jawline. But I like you said, the detail, and then also going to the HD version on Kaleidoscape and see, because how sometimes like it'd be like, oh my god, I never saw that before, but then you go back and it's probably there, just not as pronounced. And I thought it'd be a fun A/B. So, but now I got multiple. Now I'm doing that and Ungentlemanly Warrior. What was it again?
The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Yeah. Oh, you're gonna have such a good week ahead.
Oh god. Yeah, if I could get to it. That's what happens when you say this stuff, and then it's like Sunday night, and you're like, "Oh my god, I got homework." Which one of these would you like to do before we get to our final one that we were going to wrap up last week with?
Let's do that one. Yeah, let's do that one because that's an interesting one, which has a link to the show. Yeah. It
has a link to the show. Oh my god, here we go.
Yeah. I watched this because of this show.
because you listen to our show.
Yeah. Yeah, I have heard there's a show on.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is interesting. This is Earthsounds on Apple TV Plus in 4K HDR and Dolby Atmos. Now, the reason that I watched this is because someone, Deej, right? And for the life of me, I've spent days trying to think of who it was. Someone on the show, and I can't remember whether. Yeah. And I can't remember whether it was in a Takeover Tuesday, or maybe I'm thinking it might have been the 24-hour show because I can remember an expert, right? Someone who was now I'm hoping when they listen to this, they'll out themselves and tell us who it was because I feel bad because they're someone who was an expert at some point on this show said, "Have you seen Earthsounds on Apple TV Plus?" And I remember thinking, "Ooh, that sounds interesting." And they were really sort of hyping it up and saying it's really good. And I've had that in the back of my mind ever since. It was months and months and months ago.
Yeah.
And so I had finished one of the movies that I watched this week, and there are some others which we'll talk about next week. And I'd finished it, and I thought, do you know what? I'm going to give this a quick go. And there are 12 episodes. It's 30 odd minutes each. Yeah, so they're nice and short. And in fact, that includes a 5-minute vignette at the end of how they made the episode. So actually, they're only about 25 minutes long each. And they are essentially sound demos. So it's a nature documentary. It says they're narrated by Tom Hiddleston, who is not the best narrator, whatever we're going to call them. Well, someone seems to have told him, you need to talk like this.
Really?
And it sounds a bit weird when he does it. Yeah, he's trying to do Attenborough, and no one can do Attenborough.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm like, I love his voice.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, I think he's great the way he is. So why would you? Yeah.
Well, and it's only really in the first couple. After that, he kind of relaxes a bit. But for the first two, it's really weird the way he's talking. Yeah. It's just strange. So anyway, that's not the issue, though, because as soon as these begin, if you've got an Atmos
you just went to the voice.
Yeah.
As soon as these begin. It's like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. Wow.
You didn't even have your accent. It's like you turned American. You're like, as soon as these begin.
In a world.
Hello. I gotta pull that as a sound.
Trailer man.
Yeah.
But as soon as these start, each one of them is a great sound demo. The first episode is set in Australia in the outback, in the jungles and in the bush, and then the next one is in the Himalayas, and then the next one is in the jungles of the Amazon, and the next one then after that is in the Atlantic. And if you've got an Atmos setup, you owe it to yourself to try these out. They look fantastic. I mean, the 4K. I mean, it's Apple TV Plus. You don't need me to tell you that. So they look incredible. But the sound on it is awesome from second one. And there's quite a cool little title card that says Earthsounds, surprisingly enough. And what happens is the camera goes forward. I know, bizarre, isn't it? Spoiler alert. But the camera goes forward, and the title comes towards the camera. And so as you go through, the sound which was at the front comes up and over and fills the room. And we talked about the Dolby Atmos. It's not a maze, is it? I don't think that's the first one, but the one that starts off with the in the forest and you can hear the kind of the crickets and the birds. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly how this begins. And you're immediately thinking, "Oh, okay, I know what I'm in for here," and it's awesome. It really is good. And so for 20 odd minutes each, there's 12 of them. With very high production values. Okay. Paul thinks it was Travis. ATV launch show. Do you know what, Paul? I don't know. I wish I did. it was an expert, and I can't remember who it was. Sorry. It was Travis. Oh, good man. Right. Travis. Right. There we go. Legend. Right. There we go.
Yep.
Mystery solved. Thanks, Travis. I knew it was someone who had said it, and it had gone into the back of my head, and I had then forgotten. So thank you for confirming that. Really, really good as an Atmos demo that you can show to anybody because it's nice and short, but also it looks incredible. This is well worth seeing. And I would recommend this to anyone. If you've got your Apple TV Plus subscription anyway, it's sat there and you can just fit this in between movies, 25 minutes. It's almost like an extended trailer, really. And just give it a go because they're great. They really are good. And unlike Planet Earth, which is shot, I mean, they look incredible and they sound incredible, but Planet Earth tends to be shot. I hope I don't sound too OTT when I say this. Planet Earth is shot for the masses. This is shot for us.
Right. Yeah.
There's no question this is for people with an Atmos setup and a really decent screen. This is meant for us. And so, give it a go. I think you'd be really pleased that you did. Anyone watching this will be blown away because I can't imagine anyone not being, because you can't get much better than this on anything streamed. Really, really pleased with it.
I wish I could have hit the cha-ching button, but I got it. So it's like, I mean, God, you can't get a better review than that for home theater stuff.
Yeah. Oh, hang about. Right. Did I?
What do we got?
Man, I may have got that wrong. So Paul says he was replying to Travis in the chat. So it may not have been Travis. Well, Travis. So no, you haven't watched it. Oh, so it's not Travis. Mystery resumed.
There we go.
Sorry, Travis. Okay. Sorry, forgive me, guys. That'll teach me to get so excited I stop reading the chat.
No. You gave somebody credit accidentally. It was nice of him to say, nope, wasn't me.
Someone
Try John Brock
on the show. No, man. I wish I knew who it was.
Steve.
I wanted to say
Steve Brock.
I would say it might have been Brett, but let's not bring him in because
what pops up? Oh no.
Hour 3. But so it may have been Ara. I just don't know. It could have been,
it
Giles.
might have been,
Someone mentioned it. Someone mentioned it, and it stuck in my head. Not who said it, just that it was there. And it really is cool. So I'm echoing it now. Literally,
you got the content. You just didn't get the delivery. The deliverer.
Footnotes are lacking.
That's okay. We're flying by the seat of our pants, Steve. What are you gonna do?
But let me know what you think of it, DJ. If you get 25 minutes, let me know what you think. I think you'll be blown away. And it's actually, do you know what? Knowing you as I know you, DJ, you'll get Shawshanked on that. You'll start one and you'll end up blasting through them all because I'm not sure you'd be able to stop yourself.
That's the problem is I end up, it's like you want to go down and just put it on 25 minutes and you're like, oh, here's another one. And then another one.
That's what I did.
Yeah, exactly.
I ended up doing 2 hours of it in one go because I just, and it was late at night, but I just couldn't stop.
You want to hit this one?
Yeah, can do. Yeah, that'll be a quickie.
Yeah. All right. That's what I figured. We'll do this. All right.
Okay. So this then, you might have guessed from the picture. You won't have guessed from what it says because the title isn't there.
Right. Yeah, I got the picture, though. I get the picture, Steve.
I get the picture. The one and only Anchorman, to give it its full title, The Legend of Ron Burgundy, which came out here yesterday on 4K UHD disc in 4K HDR, only DTS HD 5.1, although, of course, upmixed to Neural X. For me, this film, and I've seen it many, 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 many times, and this still holds true as of yesterday when I watched it, is possibly the best comedy of the 21st century to date. I don't think, and I was talking to a friend of mine about this morning, and he was mentioning some others, but I don't think any of them can touch this for the best comedy of the 21st century. He was saying Austin Powers, specifically the third one, because the other two were last century. He mentioned Bridesmaids. He mentioned Hangover. But for me, this is the greatest comedy of the 21st century thus far. And I love this film in a way that is most unnatural, as I often say. And it is absolutely awesome. And it's as funny as ever, infinitely quotable. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. and had a great time rewatching it again yesterday. So that's the film out the way. Now the movie's come out in a ginormous. In fact, let me just grab it a second.
Before we get
ginormous collector's edition, which is this. Okay, so the movie's come out in this kind of big, huge sort of set thing, and normally, as you know, of course, DJ, I put these things into their cardboard sleeves and never to be seen again. All the tat that comes with these things, but actually, as I put up on Twitter and I took a photo of it, there's actually some quite cool stuff in here, including a diary that is entitled "The Many Months of Ron Burgundy." And it's been written as if by Ron Burgundy himself. And now you know how Fall Guy has the post-it notes, okay?
Yeah.
Which are very funny. This has got infinite non sequiturs in this diary that is every bit as funny as, Sell Cockatoo by Koala. Because it's absolutely hilarious. And I was reading through it and I was not quite wetting myself, but I was laughing uproariously. And I honestly, it's great. So not only do we get a movie that I love, and I'll talk about the HD experience in a minute, but it actually has useful tat, which is pretty incredible because I'm so used to it being useless tat that I never look at again. It's actually quite good. So worth buying the set. So yeah, very cool. Now let's talk about the HD experience. The video. It looks fantastic.
For a
the
comedy.
4K for a comedy from 2004.
Yeah.
So it's 20 years old. And it looks
I can't believe it's that old.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, it's scary, isn't it? But it looks fantastic. This has been scrubbed to an nth degree. In fact, that picture, I'm not watching on a non-calibrated monitor, but that picture doesn't actually go too far in terms of how sharp, how colorful, and the quality of the disc. It looks astonishing. It's night and day over the Blu-ray in terms of its video quality. Bearing in mind it's supposed to be the 70s, isn't it? Kind of late 70s, early 80s type thing. So all of the very bright colors leap off the screen. The detail in the facial features, the mustache that obviously he's got, and all that stuff is ridiculously good. It's in 1:85 ratio, so of course it fills your screen. So all these close-ups are there to be seen, and it looks astonishingly good. It really does. For a comedy or any movie, it looks fantastic. Sounds good, but the sound is obviously it is a comedy. There's only so much you're going to get from that. Although there are some musical numbers, and the music does sound really good, and there's some surround stuff there, which is pretty decent. But I really, really enjoyed this movie, and the disc is great. So if you like me and you like the movie, you absolutely owe it to yourself to pick this up. Is this something for you, DJ? I'm sensing some not as into this as I am type thing. Is that fair or not?
They have it on Kaleidoscape, 4K, SDR, HDR10, Dolby Vision, in DTS HD Master Audio 5.1. What's the next movie you want to talk about, Steve?
Oh, really?
I hated this movie.
Oh, boo.
Never saw it. It was so funny. As soon as you brought it up and you started raving about it, I'm like, this is going to be good. My wife and I didn't see this in the theater. Never went to see it. I am not. I love Will Ferrell in supporting roles. Like I loved him in what was the one he did with Wahlberg?
No.
Well, yeah, he did that. Stepdad's
the other guys. The other guys. The other guys.
Guys. Was it the other? That was Russell Crowe. I thought
that was Nice Guys.
Nice Guys.
I think he was in Other Guys.
Other Guys, whatever, where he did the office pop, right? That was hysterical, right?
I'm gonna find out.
I love him in supporting stuff. The movies that are just featuring him, I just don't. His humor is, it's too much for me. It's too. I don't want to say dumb, but it's just like it's too over the top.
The Other Guys. The other guys.
Okay, so. And so we didn't see this in the theater, and my sister and brother-in-law were like, let's watch this movie. So bought it on, I think might have been DVD. It had to be Blu-ray. It was a couple of years later, right? So bought it on Blu-ray. We put it in. I didn't even want to finish it. I was just like, oh my God. I know all the one-liner, I know all the stuff. I get it. But for me, I'm like, and like people are referencing like Austin Powers, like you said earlier. Austin Powers to me, that was a whole other, that was maybe because it was him and he's supposed to be British, but he's not. So I was okay. But this here, I was just like, this is just, no, I could not separate my brain. I just was like, I was out. And and it's usually like, it's the Will Ferrell thing. Like I liked him on Saturday Night Live, some of the stuff he did, but when you go over the top like that, I was just like, no, wasn't for me. Never was. And never will be. I was like, and anytime like, that's the best movie. I'm like, no. I'm out.
No. I mean, comedy is as subjective as just about anything.
They all are, but yeah, exactly.
Quite. Yeah.
So it's subjective as horror.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. But some of that is just subjectively amazing. That's fine. Evil Dead Rise.
It's subjectively amazing.
Yes, objectively amazing. Well, we've got some disagreement in the chat. Okay, so we've got Steve Att is with you, Deej. So I'm with DJ. Yeah. All right. We've got Jordan who says, boo, DJ.
Yeah, of course. We've
got Dom, in fairness. So he says, I love Anchorman, but my wife barely chuckled. The humor's not for everyone.
Exactly.
Which is fair enough. I mean, I absolutely adore this movie in every way. It's such a good film, personally. But I get it. So what would be your? I mean, we've had Austin Powers, Bridesmaids, The Hangover.
The best comedy to me
of this century.
Of this century.
Because last century's easy.
Well, for me, it's Dumb and Dumber. You just can't. Okay. After that, even I would throw it into this century because that to me is just the quintessential. I mean, it's in the title. I loved listening to people afterwards going, that was so bad. It was so dumb. It's in the title. Like it's Dumb and Dumber. That's the point. And they're so dumb. And they lean into it. I had so much fun with that movie because there's such obvious, stupid humor. Like I can't find a job unless you want to work 40 hours a week, stuff like that. It's like, that's like pop culture. There are people like that. I can't work like that. I can't find a job. Nobody wants to pay me to sit around and do nothing. I can't find that job. It's so stupid. It's such a great movie. Like, so you're saying there's a chance. Oh.
Is there a bit of local bias, though, Deej, with that? Because it's the Farrelly brothers who are Boston born and raised. Is there a bit of local bias?
Maybe, but how do I tell? I'm like, I'm not going to lie and say it's not, but if it's my favorite, how do I say no? But it is. I mean, but you can't deny that is one of for anybody, bar none, that is one of the top comedies of all time, right? And where it falls in your list... Bridesmaids, I wouldn't put. Hangover, definitely up there. I even feel like Bridesmaids coming after that was like, all right, we'll do this version, right? Hangover was like, okay, here we're gonna start this genre off, and they did a great job with it. And it's
Paul's saying something about Mary. That's another Farrelly brothers movie, if I remember rightly, but that was 98. That doesn't come into this century. The
Farrelly brothers had a ton, not a ton, but they had a good run of movies.
My favorite Farrelly brothers movie is Kingpin. I mean, that movie is just bonkers.
Oh my God,
I love
that's
that film.
Awesome. Yeah.
And the unrated cut of that is particularly
Bill Murray,
especially with the milking of the cow. Yeah. That's not a cow. We've got a bull. That nearly killed me. It nearly killed me.
Oh my God.
That took me a while to get it going, and then pow, happened all at once.
Another one along those lines was do you remember Funny Farm with Chevy Chase?
Yeah.
And he moved out and he was eating the contest. We got a new record. You find out what they are. It's so good. Oh God. Yellow Dog. Dog. That was another good one. Not as good as any of these. That was just a fun one.
Oh man.
I didn't even get a chance to name it.
It's I mean, it's funny, again, but this century kind of feels like there's limited choice. I mean, if we're talking last century, I mean, for me it's Airplane, Blazing Saddles, and I mean
Stripes.
Life of Brian as well. Yeah, Life of Brian for me, the Monty Python. It was just, I mean, that talk about endlessly quotable. So for me, you know, of all time, those are kind of my touchstones. But yeah, since you know the 2000s,
it's harder now. It's like and we've talked about it in the past. It's hard to do comedy now. Because when you point, it's like if it's supposed to be pointing at pop culture, but right now pop culture is you're not supposed to be pointing at things. So how do they make the comedy to point that you're not supposed to point? And it makes it that much harder.
Yeah. Although, are we not about to talk about a movie that points and laughs at pop culture pretty much nonstop?
Steve, I mean, we went over this in rehearsal and everything. Except I didn't do the graphics smooth.
Oh,
what do we got? Oh, yes.
Yeah. How do we forget about that? Fred says Happy Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore, absolutely. Yeah, Adam Sandler's got a few. He's got a few of them. But yeah, Happy Gilmore is great. Duck Soup. I don't think I've seen that.
That's the Marx Brothers.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I'm right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. Happy Steve at saying Happy Gilmore is the end of my road for Sandler. After that, I'm out.
He's had some misses. It's fair to say.
He does a ton. I actually liked him in the one where he did with all the guys with the family getaway thing. They did two of them. What the heck was it? They're asking for a third.
Dates or no,
those were
it's
fun.
a recent one with Jennifer Aniston. Is that the one you mean?
Nope.
Okay.
No, the one where he did with all his buddies. Where he did with Chris Rock was in it. Grown Ups 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Mikey. Mikey's on top of it. Like-minded. He's just got a mind. I'm an idiot. Sorry, Mike. Didn't mean to call you like-minded, and I'm an idiot. Not much of a compliment there. Hey, it's just like me. Yeah, Grown Ups 1 and 2. Those are just fun to me because those guys, they're fun. They're not great comedies, but it's about them just making it kind of like that's their version of Expendables. Right? Like, let's get together and make a movie and have a good time. And I love listening to, like, when you hear, I don't know if Dana Carvey and Dave Spade's podcast, and they talk, and Spade will talk about doing those movies and how much people are asking for Grown Ups 3 and how great, like, to go back to Adam Sandler, how great it's his movie, his production, everything. He's the star of the movie, but it's such an ensemble. Like, he'll defer to they film so much and leave so much on the floor because they let them all go. And like Spade says, he could edit that movie and it would be all Sandler because he's hysterical. He might have the best line on any particular scene. But then he'll be like, no, that one fits here better, and it'll be somebody, you know what I mean? So
what sort of cast is it, Deej? Did you say it was? Was it ensemble?
Ensemble. There you go. There we go. I was wondering what my word was. I forgot earlier when you were doing your how do you say it again? Not narration.
Yeah, narration.
Narration.
Yeah, not narrator, not narration. Narration.
Narration and narrator. Narrator.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not narrator.
A narrator. Yeah, you're a narrator.
A narrator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Let's not get people irritator.
Yeah. But I mean, Deej, you talk about a group of people that were friends that get together to do a movie and kind of have a lot of fun.
Oh.
We know another movie like that, don't we?
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yes, the glove puppet movie. No, this isn't what we've got here.
Don't do that again.
No. All right.
Don't
so what we have
again
is we have the lesser known, kind of cult, very fringe, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yes,
which we've all seen, and I think when we say we all, it's not just you and me. I think everybody that's in this chat. But before we get into it, and just kind of because we were going to talk about this last week, in terms of spoilers, now the filmmakers have spoiled this insanely this week. It's been all over social media. Okay. Oh yeah. I mean, they put up pictures of all the people that are in it and behind the scenes and in front of camera and all kinds of stuff. So if you so they have spoilt it like crazy, but we're not going to do that. But what I would say is there's going to be some discussion about the story. There's going to be some discussion about what we thought about it. If you haven't seen it and you're avoiding any spoilers at all, you might want to come back to this after you've seen it so that, you're completely fresh. And I say this because I had an email a couple of weeks ago now from someone who said that was unhappy that I had mentioned something in a review that was in a trailer and therefore was a spoiler in the view of that person. I think we have to talk some stuff. We've always said, I think if it's in the trailer, it's okay, because otherwise these reviews get very boring very quick when we just say movie good, HT experience great, and move on.
Yeah.
So, we do our best. I think we're pretty good with spoilers generally, but if you're trying to be pure, be careful. All right. There you go. Okay, Paul, gotcha.
Like, I'll pause now because I still haven't seen it. Carry on without me. But we thanks, Paul, if you're still here. But even our spoilers are not very spoilery. Typically, it's more like it's an action movie. Things go boom. We'll tell it. Like I have one part. It has to do with one of the songs that I'm not going to spoil the movie. I knew I was going to be talking about this from not the moment I heard the song. I'll talk to you about it later, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. But it was more of like, I'll tell you about this one song and you won't even get it. I could tell you off air and you'd be like, didn't even see it that way. Didn't even see it that way. And so I'll give it away and I'll talk here. And then when you hear it and you see it, you'll be like, you'll actually have additional information on how I think that is important to the movie, but I'm not going to tell you why it's important to the movie. So it's pretty cool. So, it's so good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the movie was fantastic. Now I saw this at a midnight show, which I went along to it, and I haven't done a midnight show for a number of years because I kind of thought I was getting too old for all that now. But this one I was so concerned about spoilers and I'd been warned about it. I thought, right, I need to see this straight away so I then don't have to get stressed about it. So I went to see it. Now, so movie started at 5 past midnight, Deej. When I say the movie, sorry, program, 40 minutes of adverts and trailers, 1:45 in the morning before the movie began. And I tell you that so that I can tell you this, it actually didn't matter because the film was so good. I was not tired once. I was not bored at any point. I had an absolute blast. And even though it finished, it gone 3 in the morning and I was working the next day, later that day. I was so enthused. It got me through it. No problem at all. So it was very good indeed. And I had a great time with this. This is kind of what I wanted it to be. Is it a bit baggy at times? Yes. Are there some, when it kind of goes into exposition, there's probably a quicker way of doing some of that, but I was never bored. And it kept me going. But even at that, it's like I said to my son at one point, the same thing, like, there was one part of the movie where you start to go, okay, like you said, like the exposition or something. You're like, okay, this seems to be, especially now I had seen Deadpool, the original, right before this. I didn't put it in the show. We've talked about it a million times. Great home theater movie. Colors are great. The reds in HDR look so much better than the SDR, blah, blah, blah. We've talked about that ad nauseum. So there's no reason to be like, I saw Deadpool this week. But I had seen the content, so I got the pace of the movie. I got the like how they paced the comedy and like the heartwarming and this and that. They did the exact same thing. It was literally practically the same movie, pacing different. Like I'm not spoiling it. You're not gonna be like, oh, okay. It is that good. It's the same pacing. But in this one, I felt like just when you think you're like, okay, it seems to be. They turn it on you and go right at you, literally fourth wall at you with that. And you're like, oh my God, like they know what they're doing. They know so well that they're pacing it this way. And then they look at you and go, yeah, we know what we're doing. Right. And it's so well done. So, self-defamating, like you're just, it's deprecating.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Deprecating, defamating, whatever. But
not defecating. It's completely different.
Self-deprecating. Woo! Whoops. That's the 24-hour show. Nothing. Forget about it.
Couldn't step away.
how did DJ not get up?
Well, he rose slightly, and then
self-defecating. Now there's the sounder.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh,
how come I didn't get as many guests this year for the 24-hour show?
Smell-o-vision has its limits.
Don't want to be on that show between the hours of after he's been on before, because you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
Oh, for the love. Where do we go? Where are we going with this?
Yeah.
Anyways,
yes, it is self-deprecating. Yes.
Deprecating.
Yes.
Oh.
No, it's bonkers. I mean, I think there are other ways they could have made it even more streamlined. You know, I was kind of thinking that they'd do a, when we used to read I think you probably still do, but when I used to read comics in the Marvel comics, in the corners, whenever they referenced another incident, another event, there used to be a little thing in the corner that you say, see Marvel, hashtag, whatever it was, issue number 12. And I thought that could have been quite a fun little way of doing the, so time variant authority, a little corner, see Loki season 1, and just left it. That it would have been quite funny and then just got straight on with it. But anyway, that's just a thing that I thought might have been quite fun for us ultra nerds.
But do you think though, like the ultra nerds would have liked that, but then everybody else would have thought it was a giant marketing scheme? Because the one thing I did find with this is the more you knew about the entire MCU, the more you enjoyed it. Whereas if this is your first jump into the MCU, you're like, huh? Right? Like, this is not a movie that, I mean, it is good. I haven't talked to anybody that's not really into the MCU. The only people I know that haven't seen, like, the entire MCU that have seen this movie are, like, significant others. And it's always like, yeah, they didn't understand that, so I had to explain it. And they liked it, but I had to explain this, or, you know what I mean? So I haven't really talked to anybody that's like, no, I just thought this would be fun. Meg and Greg saw it, and Meg texted me from the movie theater and said there was a 4-year-old there. Yeah, somebody brought their 4-year-old, and you're like, it's rated R. What are you doing? It's not like it's like, well, it's a Marvel movie. How was I to know? Yeah, it's rated R, and they go hard into the R. Like every character that shows up in this movie, you're like, they purposefully, and the one I'm speaking of, they purposefully allow him to just go, and you're like, because I mean, to be fair, you've seen this person in other things, but to see that and see him, so good.
And interestingly, which is another one of the things that's been revealed in social media this week, they offered him cue cards. And and apparently Ryan Reynolds had said to this person, look, we'll give you cue cards. You can just read this. It's going to be fine. It'll be okay. And he apparently said to him, and again, this is a direct quote. He's saying, are you kidding? This is the reason I want to do this. He said, let me have it. This is what I want to do. So he did it. He did that himself. He didn't read it. That was all, all fine.
So good. It's so good. It's, I mean, and that is the reason he wants to do it. That whole typecat, that that's Miley Cyrus breaking from Hannah Montana, right? That's all of that. Like, I'm not a little girl anymore, and but yeah, it's but there are other characters, to be fair, all the way through this that pop up that you're like, oh my god, like it. I thought, without giving them away, what did you think of all the cameos?
Well, well, funny enough, again this week they have said these are not cameos. These are parts that people turn up and they actually have a proper thing. There's only really one cameo that, again, we're not spoiling it, that comes in a montage that turns up, who we may have already mentioned earlier, but who can say? So he really is the only cameo, according to Ryan Reynolds and Sean Levy. The rest are there with proper parts and a story and an arc and everything else. But no, I thought they were fantastic. Really good. I mean, of course, and those of us that have been long-term Marvel or MCU devotees know that one of these characters has been trying to get this off the ground for 30 years and now gets to do it, and people get to come back, and we see people that we thought had long gone, thought had left us, but get to come back, and it's cool. I mean, one of them I was both really pleased to see, because I happen to like those series of films, at least 1 and 2. See previous episodes for our discussions of the third one. So I was glad to see that person back, but then thinking, oh, I kind of wish he'd stayed there, because I don't want to give it away, but he has changed physically and doesn't look like the person that he was, and I thought that was noticeable, which is a shame, because I mean, of course, it's time, it's father time. I get that.
You gotta just.
But it's almost like, and so I would have liked that to have. I think maybe could have stayed in the past a little bit, but overall, very, very cool. And there's loads of stuff that people missed in this. It's not as though the ones you've seen front and center are the only ones in it. There are loads in the background, and there's so many Easter eggs in this, and so many things that I missed, and I've seen, and I've been told about since, and things that I saw that others didn't. And one of those being the Great
It's going to be a great disc. It's going to be a great disc. Like you said, with the Post-it notes and Fall Guy, it's going to be like just. Because I was the same. I've only seen it once. I had tickets for both days. I wasn't able to get to the first day, and then I saw it the next morning. And I wish I could have seen it since, because there is so much going on, and the self-defecating humor was so good, because they like exactly we just gotta say that from now on. They I mean, point the finger so hard at themselves, and or everything of the industry and and just like, oh my god, it's
Ryan Reynolds was saying today on something that I watched, that he was saying that because they were talking about the cameos, and this one particular one that is a cameo of the person that's in it very briefly, and he was saying because they said he came up with the idea, Reynolds came up with the idea, sent a text, and had a yes in 15 minutes. Okay, that's what Sean Levy and Ryan Reynolds have said. So that cameo, the very brief one. And Ryan Reynolds said, I think the reason for that is, he said, I've kind of built up quite a lot of trust. He said, because in the old days with Deadpool, people would be like, well, are you going to make fun of me? Are you going to kind of make me look stupid? And he said, people know that Deadpool does not punch down, only up, other than he said to me, Ryan Reynolds, he'll punch down at me all the time. That's fine. But he said, but Deadpool doesn't punch down otherwise to anybody else. And so he said, so the actors kind of trust him. And he said, so this guy was like, yeah, of course I'll come do it. No problem at all. Yeah. And so it's interesting to sort of hear that. And then that's kind of why these people do what they do. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be great. I can't wait to see it again, but I will wait for the disc. I don't feel the need to go back to the theater and see it. I'll see it at home when it's all singing, all dancing. I mean, this disc is going to make Disney endless amounts of cash. I'm assuming they'll do Disney Plus first, because they've done that with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And then, so it'll be Disney Plus in November, maybe October, November. And then it'll be, although having said that, Deej, I mean, surely they're going to want this to be the big disc seller for Christmas, aren't they? So what do you reckon?
Would be around
October? So you think October for Disney Plus, and then late November on disc? What do you reckon?
It could be.
That would make sense, wouldn't it?
It would be at least a month before Thanksgiving, I would say. You would shoot for that.
So end of October,
yeah, to get it on Disney. You get it on Disney Plus, and then the disc comes out, and you get, you go do the Disney Plus, and I really do think that they are working the shows like this. I mean, we're little, but all the rhetoric and everybody talking about streaming, and it's like, because the people buying discs, they're the ones that know the difference. They're the ones that care about the difference, right? So they're listening to all of that, and you get that buzz going, because there's nobody, I don't think there's a person buying a disc that doesn't know you can get this streaming and know a difference of quality, right? How many people are paying $24 for a disc and they don't realize you could get the movie and so much more for $20 a month? Right. You know what I'm saying? So I think the disc people and they want that buzz. They want that, get it hot, and then release it for the holidays. So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. I can't wait.
And can I just say the popcorn buckets are very cool.
Yeah. I got a couple here. I didn't get any. My son got a couple. They're upset, and they were different from that one there that you're showing, Steve.
So cool.
I'll put yours. Actually, here you go. Put that up on the screen.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Don't ask how much I paid for it though, because I had to get this from eBay because I missed it locally. Yeah, man. But and it's very cool. So you've got a drink thing at the top here, a little drink compartment at the top, and then at the back is where the popcorn goes.
Oh wow! So it's all one self-contained, and your popcorn doesn't get soggy.
No, because you comes. No. So it comes up. I'm trying to see if I can do it. Can I do this?
That's not butter.
It's so it comes apart, so you can take the back off, and then you can kind of fill that up with your beverage, and then it just reconnects, and then your popcorn goes underneath in a separate little compartment. So it's very cool, and it's a proper bit of merch. It's all really well done, and so this is going to live in the cinema room, and we'll never have beverage or popcorn in it. I just happen to like it.
Yeah, exactly. So the ones we have, Joe got a bucket, and then it's a different cut. It's the same idea. It's very, very stylized.
And then they did these as well, although that's just a kind of a drinks thing with Wolverine on the top. But
there you go.
But that was much cheaper.
Yeah, exactly.
So very, very cool. So it was an awesome movie. I mean, it deserves to be the biggest movie of the year. It's well and truly on track to do that. I mean, it's blasted every other R-rated movie out in history at the domestic box office anyway. So it's already smashed that record.
It smashed the record the weekend of. It smashed the record of like the highest grossing of all time. Not the opening weekend of all time, the highest grossing of all time.
Yeah.
It outgrossed it in a single weekend.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's it. So,
but that's Ryan Reynolds, though. That's him. And to your point about the actors trusting him to get in, that's the public going, I got to see his stuff. And the way let's go, like, talk about marketing. They've been marketing this for 10 years, the way that their personalities go, their businesses. Remember the commercials they did? It's his, what was it? His gin, and then what was
aviation gin?
Aviation gin.
Is it mobile phone thing he does as well?
Now he's doing that now. But then what was, remember the one they did on social media where it was like, you talk great about me, and like Ryan Reynolds talked great about Hugh Jackman, and then Hugh Jackman, then he was like, whoops. And he just like, this mother, beep, 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 and he just goes off on, I hate that guy. Like, I thought we were spoofing each other. He's like, and Ron's like, oh, I'm sorry. That's how you feel. It was they've been doing it forever. This battle, the fake battle, like their best friend. Like, it's just great. And now you get to see him in the movie, and you forget they've already been in it together. That's how they, going way back to
how they met.
The first Wolverine movie, right? And he was Deadpool. And I think I can't wait for this. I can't wait for more. If they're going to do more, it's.
I mean, look, if they're going to bring back Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom, then they are going to they're going to back the money truck up to both Jackman and Reynolds, and they will be, they'll be told, they'll be marched to the set to do more. I mean, they're bound to, and both of them seem to really enjoy it. I mean, I don't know, but I think Jackman probably a bit less than Reynolds because of the sheer amount of workout that he has to do to get into shape for that, because he's not a young man, and by the time the next one comes out, he'll be over 60. So to try and get into that kind of shape, it's just crackers, But
no, Reynolds isn't. I mean, he's getting older too. He's younger than Jackman, but I mean,
but
every
he's
year
covered
it's
in
harder.
a suit.
True, that's true.
And he can, get someone else to step in for him and just do the voiceover. I mean,
that's true.
It's easily done. Whereas poor old Hugh Jackman's got to show the muscles. He's got to do the work. So I mean, okay, some of it, as I understand it, has been CG. There is some body extension and some muscle extension going in. So maybe they could do that. But I'm not. I get the impression Jackman would think that was cheating, and I don't think he's like that. He's not that kind of guy. So I suspect he'd keep going until he can no longer convincingly do the muscles. But who knows? I don't know him. but Disney will be backing up the money truck to these two if they haven't already. I mean, they may have already signed them up to 2 or 3. Pictures anyway. So, who knows? But yeah, I want more. I want to see more. There's so much they can do with this. And with Secret Wars coming and obviously Avengers Doomsday coming, the crossovers of these characters is just going to get more and more. And it'll lead into X-Men. There's lots of mention in the X-Men, of course, in this. And that's very deliberate. So, it's coming. It's not going to go away, is it?
No. And so one of the things, the other thing, I know you got to get going. We got a minute, but we'll go a few seconds here.
Yeah, we're all right for a couple of minutes. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
This is a lot, to me, this is a lot deeper of a movie, too, than I think people, like I found something in this movie for me personally that makes it so much deeper. And it was early on in the movie, and it's the Goo Goo Dolls song, Iris. Okay. And I've been mountain biking to that for over 20 years. Love the song. There's a line in the song about, it's like, something. It's about the movies. I forget the exact term right now. I'm stumbling over my words, but the entire meaning of the song actually comes from another movie, City of Angels. Resnick wrote this. Yeah. So they play this song at the beginning of the movie, and then it comes on later in the movie. But if you know City of Angels, research the meaning of Iris, Goo Goo Dolls song Iris, how he wrote it, why he wrote it, and research City of Angels, and you'll see in the movie how that fits perfectly. It's actually foreshadowing at the beginning of the movie of so City of Angels is a movie, I'll give that away, is a movie about a character. It's, what's it, Meg Ryan and
Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Cage is an angel, and he wants to give up his immortality. And here you have these two characters, these comic book characters, that they can't be killed for all intents and purposes. And you're just like, for seeing that in a movie, how they add that in, and it's like, did they think? There's no doubt in my mind that they chose that song, those lines, to put in the song at the beginning and then show them at the end and do all of this, and you're like, oh my God. And it adds depth to a movie that is supposed to be shallow. Right? We're supposed to be laughing at the self-defecating humor. We're supposed to be laughing at all of this stuff, but how deep they can actually get. And it's like, but you have to have known or seen, and I might be all wrong. They're just like, I like the song. I don't know. And I was but that's what I found in it. You know what I mean? So,
I mean, I think that this movie is meticulous in its frivolity. So I don't think there's anything in here that has not been polished and fine-tuned to within.
I think that should go back. Steve, that quote should go back on the back of the Blu-ray, the DVD, or the 4K. Meticulous in its frivolity. I mean, where do you get? Who says that?
You'd think I was a lawyer.
Exactly.
That's
why I have you, because I'm self-defecating and you're a wordsmith.
Oh, no. I've been called a lot of things. That's not that.
I'm crapping my pants, and you're writing poetry.
It's been fine-tuned. I mean, this movie, I don't think there's much in here that's left to chance. I mean, and some of the stuff that struck me, as well as all the fun and games, is there is some acting in this. I mean, and again, but in terms of kind of amongst all the silliness and again the frivolity, you've got. I mean, there is a scene in a car between two characters, and one character levels with and destroys really verbally the other character. And this has been on all social media this week. That scene has been shown again and again and again and again and again. And there is acting in there. That is a dramatic scene that has heft and it has weight, and the thing is, the other character whose face you can't see is, you can almost imagine, you can see, sort of feel the reaction under that, the face you can't see. And I mean, it's exceptional. There is some really good writing in this as well. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't necessarily always gel with the silliness, but there is some really good dialogue in this as well. So I mean, it's a very good film. And this film will stand the test of time. It will last, and people, you, me, everyone in the chat, the world at large, will watch and rewatch and watch again. And isn't it nice though to have a movie like this from Marvel after a number of near misses or borderline hits. I mean, I'm the one that liked Quantumania. I'm the one that really liked Multiverse of Madness. But there are a lot of people who were just like, yeah, and we're really struggling with the MCU. And I think this brings them back to where they want to be. What they do from here, we'll see. But at least I think this one brings them back on track.
It rejuvenates them. And how did they do it? By stepping outside of how they've done it in the past with a rated R humor, buddy cop type situation that, they stepped outside their normal genre to rejuvenate the franchise. And now because of this, we're going to get movies that are, we'll get some R movies. We'll get some, racier PG-13, whatever you want to call it. It's like, they're going to, you got to stir the pot. Otherwise, it's just all same thing, cookie cutter, blah blah blah. This is pointing the fingers at the cookie cutters, right? And that's how you rejuvenate it, and that's how you keep a franchise going. And when you think about it, this franchise has been going. We're coming up on 20 years. In 28, it'll be 20 years since Iron Man came out. And, and this, obviously, Marvel movies go before that, but Marvel Studios started with Iron Man. And, I mean, this is what did it. And think of the landscape of Hollywood that it took to get this to happen, right? It's so, like, talk about pop culture, and everything involved in this. They even go into that hard, right? Even to pop culture, like, political, they did not shy away from anything in this. And I think this could be one of those movies that at the end you're like, this is what reset a lot of the landscape for comedies, for a lot of stuff that we were talking about earlier in the show that we don't get now. So theater wise though, I think me personally, I think this could go the way of Fall Guy, where I wouldn't say I can't wait to see what it looks like HDR on my screen and the colors and the action, but it's such a fun movie. I can't picture what that's going to be like. I don't remember, like, the action is good. But I'm like, is this going to be like one where we're like, oh my God, the way it moved? I don't see it being home theater experience of the year, but I see it being one of my favorites, much like Fall Guy is. So, and maybe, but remember when I saw Fall Guy at home and you start looking at it and you're like, oh my God, the colors, the smoke and this and the HDR, and you start to go like, wow, it is reference at points. So maybe this could be like that, but for right now, it's a must own. Own.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and funny enough, Van Gaal just nails it there as well. Said if the 4K is like the other two, it'll be good. I mean, especially the first disc. I mean, it's interesting you rewatch that one before because that disc is phenomenal, and the second one is not far off it. I can't imagine this being anything less than exceptional. If only we knew a post-production consultant that worked with Disney that could maybe, anyway.
Anyways,
it's going to be great.
We can dream.
Yes, yeah. Talking about dreaming. Past midnight here, and I need to
past midnight, buddy. We got to get you out of here. But everybody, thank you for watching, listening. Thank you, Patreon supporters. Really appreciate it. And we will be back next week. Maybe not on time, but we'll be here in some form or another. In this, whether I get my homework done or not, I'll be here. And we'll have fun. Steve keeps me afloat here. So, and we're coming up on 400, Steve. We got to get John back. I got to get John on board, at least for the 400. John's busy at work, trying to get work. Talked to him this week. So, but I'd love to get him back at least for the 400th, which is in, I think it's this is 97, 98.
No, this one's 98, I think. This one's 98.
I don't know.
Yeah. Look at the top of the screen.
I can't see it. My screen's kind of narrowed on. Tune in. Well, maybe DJ will be surprised when it's the 400th. Who knows? So, So, everybody, thanks everybody. Great chat. See you guys next week. You know what you got to do.
Go push play.
What he said.
It's right.
Hey, Fred.
This has been a Hey Fred production with theme music by Jeff Bernhardt and Throne Vault Productions.